How awesome it is to be here today and see all of you, or maybe not see all of you given the lights, but I'm thrilled to be moderating this panel with this group of savvy marketers right over here. We're going to be talking about outcomes-based marketing and how to demonstrate media effectiveness among many marketing inputs, both online and offline. I'm joined here by Andrew Burkus, Senior Principal of IQVIA, Catherine Freely, Global Head of Media and Digital Procurement at Novartis, and Justin Freed, Chief Media and Innovation Officer of CMI Media Group. So to kick it off, I thought we'd do just a quick rapid fire question just to set the stage and ask each of the panelists what outcomes-based marketing means to them. So go ahead, Andrew.
Am I up first? Okay, great.
You are first.
So many of the sessions earlier and many of the conversations we have, of course, together and with our clients, when you talk about outcomes-based media, everybody goes, oh, that simply means ROI. And to an extent, it does. I do think if you're thinking of what is that traditional North Star, you want the outcome to be improvement, material improvement being driven by the investment you have in the marketplace. The one thing I think we need to think about, and there were sessions earlier in terms of it being, not a finite journey, but an infinite journey, is just because someone ends up on script, that's not where it starts and stops. When they go to the doctor, or maybe they end up on script, that's not where it starts and stops. So throughout the life cycle of a physician's journey or a patient's journey, I do think there are a lot of metrics, and I don't think really one size fits all. So when you say outcomes equals ROI, that is correct, but I think there is a deeper dive. There are more layers to it than that help to continuously optimize not only the activation process, but the media measurement and optimization process as well. So, outcomes-based media itself is a journey, joining the patients and the physicians we serve in terms of the number of metrics we can optimize against throughout the life cycle and throughout that journey.
That's great.
Yeah, I think, Andrew, that I agree with a lot of the things you just said. However, I would take it up a notch and I would say, what's outcome-based marketing means for a pharma company, right? It means actually increased sales, increased profits, increased business results, right? Like whatever we as each individual company outline those business results. So I think that, the criteria or the matrix you were describing are sort of proxy to get to how can we, have marketing that provides better business results, and actually how do we connect the two? Because, just doing media marketing plans is not an art on its own, but it should serve a higher goal, which is driving results, driving, outcomes that are sales or other metrics for the organization.
Yeah, so I'll add on a little bit because I think Andrew and Catherine both nailed the head. When I'm looking at it from a pharmaceutical company's perspective, it's business results, right? It's not looking just at NRX, it's looking at TRX, keeping people on treatment over time to hopefully help them with their ailment. And that's where the other part of outcomes, and I think when pharma started talking about outcome-based marketing a couple of years ago, it really was a focus on the patient and that we're actually making a change in their lives. I know that's why a lot of us are in here, whether it's a loved one, yourself, a child, whatever, you're in this because you're making an impact. So I think outcomes is business, but outcomes is also actually helping people and helping these patients that are on these treatments.
Well said.
Yeah.
I love all of those answers. Let's just take it even a step further. And what do you think are the greatest challenges that you are faced with when trying to represent and showcase true business results?
I mean, maybe we'll start down this side
Yeah,
and go
let's
another
do
way.
that.
Switch it up.
So I think data, I think that's a problem our industry, the marketing and media industry and creative industry in a whole has problems with, just making sure that we're getting the right data, we're getting clean data, we're getting data that's actually usable and can be actioned on. I think that's one of our biggest kind of problems. I know a lot of my clients, a lot of the pharmaceutical companies in this are starting to own their own data, but they have limited depth of data, and maybe recent data, maybe from disparate systems. So being able to bring that all together, being able to enhance it with outside resources and get that data on a fast enough basis so you can actually change and optimize your marketing. I think that's one of the biggest issues. The other one I will say, and this is more from a creative folks in the room, I apologize that I have to say this, but getting the right creative, getting it fast enough, getting enough variations of it so we truly can deliver an omni-channel marketing campaign is something we struggle with sometimes. It's just the red tape involved and all that kind of stuff. I know there was a modular content panel before this that was great, but getting that content, getting that creative ready and ramped up quickly has been a hurdle too.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I would just build on it, is that, data, I think we're data obsessed. I think actually pharma companies have a lot of data. It's also almost like more data that we know what to do with. And I think it's not a question of data, but do you have the right clean data to make the right decisions? And I think that's what, we're struggling with, is because we want to we're in like this state where we are hoarding all the data because we might just use it one day. But the reality is that we don't use most of the data points. We only use 3 or 4 data points that are really important to make strategic decisions. And I think that once we get through that state of we want to have all the data just in case, we have to move to the stage of we should almost get the data that would drive the strategic decisions, how we optimize in more real time, because I don't know, you guys handle multiple accounts, but the time lag for any optimizations that we still get very far away from real-time optimization, right? So sometimes we can only optimize after months or even longer. And I think that, we need to strive to optimize faster. And also, the creative, I'm with you completely. It's the insights that drive the right creative for the right channel at the right time. And I think that that's something that is still, we need to focus on those insights and how to use them for the right creative development is another.
Yep. I'm aligned with a lot of what you guys have said. I do think that, when I started working in this industry, sort of that speed to market as the barrier. You're not able to move at the speed of business. You're launching a campaign in January, and you're just starting to figure out in mid-April, is it working, is it not?
Yeah.
I would say that we are kind of coming into this future state now where a lot of systems are future ready, where a lot of those data points are being pulled in. I think they're being accessible sooner. I do think that there are platforms out there that are allowing you to see, on weekly updates, things like audience quality, which again, not the ultimate barometer of success, but you can start to ascertain campaign health sooner nowadays than you used to. And I do think as we look towards the future, I think that is going to be eradicated as a barrier to making these optimizations, because I think the infrastructure is starting to be in place, and the teams know that these things are table stakes. They know that this is what you have to do to optimize a campaign, to continuously improve a campaign, and ultimately see better results. So I feel like the future is kind of now, and I'm really excited about what those next steps are too, because the challenges we used to have, I think they're becoming more simplified, which allows us to be better agile marketers.
I agree, and I'm just going to add one more quick thing. So I think Andrew's right. I think we've been at, I'd say the past 18 months plus, and where we're going with a lot of the stuff that many of the partners out there, and Lindsay, what you and the trade desk are doing and stuff, is getting that data on a daily basis, right? Mm-hmm. And specifically when we'll talk about HCP for a second, physician level data. Many of the suppliers in this room and at this conference are able to provide that on a daily basis, right? And so you're getting it, you're understanding who's engaging with what's engaging with who, and able to use that. Now that's not an outcome. But if they're engaging with efficacy information and they're likely to see X amount of patients per day related to your disease state, you can make the assumption that it's driving some behavior change, hopefully. So I think, to Andrew's point, I think we're on the cusp of it. I think we've got a lot of exciting stuff ahead of us in the next 3 to 6 months. That's going to help enable a lot of better and faster execution of these types of campaigns.
Well, I just have to jump in because I am so happy that you guys are so optimistic about the, speed to market. I may be a little bit more, less optimistic because large organizations like my organization is a little bit, it takes longer to actually make all those decisions and put them into the real life. So I know the data is out there. I know it's, you guys get it on a daily basis, and it's great because that's what we need. However, large organizations are still a little bit more like a cruise ships versus the speedboats, because it takes a long time to turn around the cruise ship, versus the speedboat has just more agility and speed, right? So, but I'm happy to hear that, because we do need, shorter lead time to make decisions to optimize, for sure.
So you could say we're dreamers.
Yeah.
But
that's
look out
okay.
here. We're not the only ones.
Oh, that is good. I'm glad.
Dreamers that will make it a reality at
Yeah.
some point. It's coming. I couldn't agree more. I'm going to home in on CTV for a moment. It's a hot topic. It was talked about a lot yesterday. And sitting at the trade desk, we're one of the leaders of CTV for the open internet. So I have to touch upon it. Justin, sitting at the agency, I would love your perspective in terms of like what trends you are seeing for pharma when it comes to CTV. What are some of the greatest opportunities as well as challenges as that channel continues to ramp up?
Yeah. So at CMI, we're super pumped about CTV. I think I would call it almost an explosion. We're going through planning season now, and the amount of CTV from 2022 to 2023 is going to exponentially grow. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. The barrier to entry for CTV is significantly lower, right? We've seen it with online video, and I'm going to say online video, CTV, and then linear, and I'm just, for the sake of the conversation today, I'm going to split those into 3 buckets. Your online video, that's ads on Facebook, right? Video ads on Facebook, certain types of YouTube buys, things like that, and then you have the connected TV devices where it's, when you're advertising on Hulu, the different full episode players and things like that. The barrier to entry there from a cost perspective is significantly lower than TV to make an impact. The accompaniment of the ability to take the targeting level that you can with digital tactics and overlay that. So we have lower cost and better targeting. So we have seen significant adoption. I'd say for many of our clients, they are in we're getting out of the testing phase, we've seen good results, let's ramp our spend up in it phase. Now, not every client, but many of the early adopters who have tested different things. We just did a really cool pilot with Amazon, where we brought some of our clients, like the first pharma ad on their Freevee platform. So again, significant growth due to that barrier, be able to track it and understand what people did and then connect it. I know we're not talking omni-channel today, and I've already said it twice, but to be able to connect it to an omni-channel campaign, right? That's a significant impression while you're sitting there watching your favorite show on Hulu or whatever device. So exponential growth, only going to grow as you see the argument for linear in pharma was that, oh, it's this older generation that we're trying to market all these oncology drugs to, or all these, whatever drugs to. They're watching linear TV. My parents are 70. The only time my dad turns on linear TV is to watch the Phillies. By the way, if you're from Philly, go Phils.
Hell yeah.
So everything my parents are consuming is connected TV. So if you want to target them, they're your prime market. Connected TV is where it's at. So I see that as probably one of the biggest increases in spend in the coming years, similar to what happened like 4 or 5 years ago with social.
Yep, I completely agree. And I'd love both Catherine and Andrew, like your perspectives around measurement of CTV, right? We can measure audience quality, we can measure script lift, and some platform like ours and others can optimize to those metrics in flight. But calling you out, Catherine, first, a CMO at a pharma organization is gonna know that there's a lot of marketing inputs that go into a campaign. And into the success of that campaign. So how are you articulating the value of CTV to your leadership?
Right, so I'm going to defer to you, Andrew, first, and maybe even Justin, because at the end of the day, my role is to take their recommendations and actually roll it up and synthesize it up to the CMO. So if you gentlemen can actually give me the recommendation, and then I can tell you how I would spin it to the CMO.
All right, I'm going to tell you what I would say in a perfect world.
All right.
And then you're going to tell me that I'm wrong and summarize it, and that's okay. because that's what we're here. We're here to learn about these things. So jumping off of one of the things Justin said, which I think is important, is the barrier to entry is very low in terms of entering the market. The barrier to entry in terms of being able to measure and optimize is equally low in terms of being able to pull that data through. So think back about linear TV. Again, go Phillies. That's also the only time I watch live TV. You might wait 3, 4, 5, 6 months, or there's an update or a media mix model refresh, and then it tells you, hey, you had positive or negative ROI. You've missed so much of an opportunity to optimize that because of the way that CTV is activated, you have the ability to now look at that the same way you would with your digital, whether it's daily updates, weekly updates, pulling that through to the outcome-based marketing. So when it's linear, you're talking about eyeballs. You're still going to win from an eyeball standpoint more often than not, although there's a substantial amount of waste because of the inability to target the way you can in CTV and other programmatic areas. So instead of saying, I had X amount of GRPs, now you can say the CTV campaign, it reached 200,000 people. We monitored that cohort. We know that 20% of them are the right audience. We know that after 30 days, 20,000 of those went into the doctor, and we know 1,200 of them ended up on script. You can pull that through to actionable metrics. You can share that in a way that I think is meaningful, ties it to business outcomes. But considering that I've already talked about this for 90 seconds, I've probably spent 65 more seconds than I'll ever get to translate that to a CMO. So you can tell me, how do I give that elevator pitch that takes all those good salient points and makes it meaningful to someone in the C-suite?
That's right. So, the truth is that, you know a lot. You are actually in the details of all of it. You probably know even more, or you guys know the same, but this is a lot of information. And anybody who has ever presented to the CMO, knows that their attention span is maybe 4 minutes, and you probably get 5 bullet points to describe something, right? And you need to take all this information that we get from our agency partners and from our measurement partners, and you need to synthesize it, and you need to keep their attention going. Why would they give you X amount of budget to spend on CTV, right? And the way I would probably say it is, hey, this is an amazing opportunity for optimization, cutting waste out of your system, and deliver to the audiences in a much more precise way, especially that we're pharma and not like my previous employer, that was marketing to 2+, right? So you have a better way of being more cost efficient, more targeted, and you're getting closer to that real-time optimization versus, as Ogilvy said, waiting for linear TV for like maybe 7 months to say 50% of my advertising was wasted. The only thing is, I don't know which one, right? So I think that's the way I would approach the CMO. I would, be short, sweet within my short time that I'm given, and try to give them, reasons how not to dismiss me, and still get budgets for you guys, to spend in CTV and digital.
To work our magic, yeah.
That's right.
That's great. I love the way that you put that. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. I think we all know that every platform is going to say they have their special sauce or unique data, measurement capabilities, inventory access, et cetera. So how do you evaluate the partners that you choose to work with and then justify those partners to your executive leadership in the context of your overall company goals? And Justin, why don't we start with you on this one?
So Catherine and I actually talked about this one a little bit. We each have a different perspective that kind of vibes with each other. So I think it'll be an interesting question. So from the agency side, right? So our ultimate goal here is to be pretty agnostic. We don't get in bed with anybody that everything goes to one partner. So we vet and we try to make sure we have a good understanding of what everybody can do. So the first thing, I probably have an attention span of like 60 seconds. So that initial pitch, once they get past the initial pitch of, hey, we've got something unique, we bring them in, we vet them, we say, show me the platform. So there's a lot of vaporware out there that gets built. We want to actually see the platform. We want the people that are hands-on keyboards to truly see the different buttons and levers that they can pull and press to make sure that this is real. The next thing that we do is test. So there's a lot of different companies that do a lot of the same things or claim to do a lot of the same things. So our ultimate goal here is to say, hey, we're looking for a partner that does X. The 3 of you do it. You each get $250,000 this quarter. Do your best, right? And again, it's a little bit more than that. There's partnership in it, but that's at the highest level. And we go out and we set them against each other and we see which one wins. And the interesting thing that we've seen is, let's just talk like audience data, right? We may get one partner that really thrives with non-small cell lung cancer data and another partner that's great for the flu, right? So it could be different. So it's the opportunity to continuously test new partners, put them against each other, see which one does best. And I came from a direct response lead gen space before pharma. So like making it onto that media plan made you were performing really well. And we're trying to install that within our media planners as well.
Yeah, and that's great, and that's why I think large pharma companies need to work with the agency, because I think this partnership, because I think that Justin and his team thrives on all the details, hands-on keyboards, dashboards. I will tell you honestly, I will never go hands-on keyboards, and it's probably a good thing. But I really, appreciate all the thinking and the due diligence that goes into your recommendation to us about what partners to select. And obviously, we work very close. For us, it's more so, is this the partnership that we, value highly? Is this the partnership that maybe I want to work with the agency partner on developing even further? Perhaps it's that important to me that I want to even develop my own JBP because I see other, values that can come out of this. So, my evaluation or my team's evaluation is slightly high level, but I think that that's where, we coexist so well together, the platforms, the agency, and then the client side, organization, whether it's a media COE or a media procurement organization, because we all have a role in the evaluation of the partners and, and the ultimate goal is to deliver the best results, the least waste, I should say, to reach our either HCP audiences or our patient audiences.
Awesome, thank you. All right, let's talk about data for a minute.
Cool.
And Andrew, I'm gonna bring this topic to IQVIA for a second. So IQVIA has a great reputation for quality data that's used across functions within pharma. But when leadership at a pharma organization or at an agency sees how much of their budget is going to data relative to media, spend in digital campaigns, how do you validate the results compared to efficiency and penetration in traditional channels like linear TV?
So I do think it's kind of a trick question, because if you think about it, if you're going to spend, with the DTC budgets that are out there, HC budgets that are out there, you spend 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars. There are some brands that still to this day spend 100 million on linear television. We see the brands out there, on television. In the rare instances, we're still watching it. But I would say, how can you afford not to measure that if you're not knowing, what you need to know what is happening, and that's really what the outcomes-based marketing is about. Now, if you think about going back to linear, and I feel like we're just treating linear as a punching bag today, but we're just trying to espouse, some of our thought leadership here. You're right. When you're talking about the traditional linear, it's harder to measure. The results aren't as quick, and to acquire the data, match that back to the health data through the privacy, compliant, and safe ways. If you're talking about DTC or even HCPs as consumers reaching them, you have a lag. The lag's harder to overcome. There are data costs that are associated with that, so it can get fairly pricey. One of the advantages of CTV, or frankly anything that's activated programmatically, is if you are working with a company who has a platform as a third party that can pull in all of that data, your investment in CTV is part of your singular investment in a platform. Now, I'm not going to come up here and talk about our particular platforms. There's ours, there are others that are out there with our competitors, but the reality is you're spending $1 amount to get the data within that platform. Connected TV can seamlessly go in that platform. In a way that linear TV, there are more challenges in putting it in there. So I do think we are again, going back to that barrier of entry, we are finding ways to access that type of data, and connected TV eradicates that barrier of entry in terms of that high data cost, because you're treating it as part of your overall digital campaign. So I would first say to those individuals, you can't afford not to validate the results, but the good news is with things that are bought programmatically, like CTV in this instance, you are able to, I think, optimize it continuously and do it in a very cost-effective way in terms of utilizing the outcomes-based data within platforms like those that we have.
Yeah. I want to make, you brought up linear again, and
Gloves are off, I guess.
Yeah, no, but I'm going to actually talk about it in a good way.
Good.
So linear TV, for the right drug, for the right market, for the right disease state, is tremendous. It can perform. We've seen that years over years. These lots of smart data scientists and pharmaceutical companies have continued to invest in linear TV, and for the right brand and the right disease state, it makes sense. One of the interesting things when it's come to measurement, what we've tried to do, so we have a couple clients that buy linear TV in the large scales, but actually using connected TV and connecting the data, right? So when we're planning linear TV and we're going after these different demographics and we're picking out the different shows and the GRPs and all this stuff, we are looking at data of like, who's likely to watch this, right? We can then find households that mirror that and then target that with connected TV. So what we can actually do is make sure, again, in the omni-channel theme that I keep bringing up, that we are connecting that household with connected TV as well as linear in most cases, right? You have to draw a little fuzzy math and fuzzy lines there, but I think you can make some use your intuition to see the connection, and then actually see if those touch points lead to behavior change, right? Is it activating more patients in certain markets where you're heavying up your spend versus not, and do some tests and controls. And that can help be a kind of probably not obvious way to measure your linear TV now versus waiting, oh, did that big marketing push I did a long time ago work 3 months down the line, right? So just another way to look at it and a little bit of a creative way to do it.
Great.
Yeah, and let me build on this. So we had bets who's going to say omni-channel the most times. So I want to win, so I'm going to say omni-channel, we do it because each channel actually works and reinforces the other channel, right? So when you look from the high view, you use linear TV for a reason. Then you overlay it with CTV that can actually inform your linear TV in a better way. Then you add your digital platforms, your programmatic, and you make a puzzle that actually works so much stronger together. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2, but more like 5. And if you take one piece of a puzzle out of the equation, you actually deliver less of the outcome-based marketing overall. And I think that's how omnichannel really should work, that puzzle is put together, that all of the channels are supporting increasing incremental reach, and then try to eliminate unnecessary frequency, because that's how you actually eliminate waste out of your overall omnichannel campaigns. But I still think that each channel has a role, and we just have to really, in a smart way, find that perfect sweet spot for the channel.
Yep. I think that's a great way to put it. I'm going to close out with one final question, and it's a prediction question. So we all know that ScriptLift is the most significant success signal right now. But there is fragmentation of media consumption, right? And many offline as well as online touch points. How do you think campaign measurement will, and even data usage, right, will evolve over the next 5 years to account for this?
So I think a lot of people in this room, or maybe if you were at the Dreamforce and Salesforce, a lot of people that are in charge of building the customer databases within the pharmaceutical companies. I think we're going to see a lot of advancement in that area. We've seen heavy investment there from different teams taking data in-house. I think that if those companies, or whichever company out there sets that up first and can truly bring in data from the sales rep, from market access, from payer, from media, whatever it is, and bring that together and use that to trigger their different communication. And I'm saying communication and not media because it's phone calls, it's reps, it's everything. They're going to win. And I think there's going to be a couple companies that get ahead of the space and are going to do a really, really good job serving the patient. And that's where I'd put my money on, like a bigger shift kind of paying off.
I love it.
If we go in this order, my prediction is that we should heavily invest in data taxonomies and simplification and focusing on the data points that matter to drive better decisions. And whoever is going to sort of solve that is going to also get a big competitive advantage.
I agree with a lot of what you guys say. I'm going to say a controversial statement. I think this programmatic thing might catch on. What do you think about that as a future state? No,
I love that statement.
in reality, though, I did touch about this at the top. I think what's happening now is exciting because in the past, whether it was how you view your channels, how you view your data sets, there were a lot of walls that didn't necessarily need to exist. Those are being knocked down now, and those are going to allow us to have that more 360 view of our audience, 360 view of how it is that they're taking in the messaging, the communication strategy, and seeing how that fits within their lives. One of the things that I've seen a lot of, and of course I'm sure in your research and everything you guys see, is in this sort of post-COVID era, a lot of the patients and the physicians that we serve, they've kind of taken back the reins, and good for them, in a way that they are now dictating to us how it is we are supposed to communicate with them and fit within our lives. You'd mentioned Amazon earlier. We need to think more like Amazon. How are we in their lives from an omni-channel standpoint? But I think that's going to become really, really important, and I really hope when it comes to patient centricity or physicians as your audience and being central to their needs, we really mean it. We stick with that, because I think what's happened in the last 2 years has been fantastic. It serves our patients, because that's really what we're about. We're about getting people on therapies that can change lives and save lives. So I hope that we continue to do that. We continue to work that way across industries, across pharma brands, with our agency partners in ways that ultimately serve that audience, because they're the ones that stuck their hand up, a couple years ago and said, all of this is great, but it's clutter. It's too much. I need it on my time. I need the messaging when it means something to me, and we're making huge strides there, and I want to make sure we continue to do that, because that's what our audience frankly deserves, and I think that's what the future is going to be, and we just need to stick to that. That's a great promise to our audience, and I hope we keep it.
All right, well, it looks like a pretty bright future.
I hope so.
I know we're out of time, and we don't have any time for questions at the moment, but if you have any, please feel free to reach out to any of us. We'd be happy to answer. And thank you guys for joining me on stage.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Ms.